Welcome back. Thanks very much for staying with us. You are watching The World DNA with me, Reisha Sehgal. Lots lined for you on the show. Let's get you started. Benjamin Netanyahu's office confirms Israel will send team to Qatar to advance Gaza ceasefire negotiations as Hamas says positive indicators on talks. Syrian forces beef up security amid reports of the government and allied forces killing Alawites in recent days. Russia says it has retaken 3 villages seized by Ukraine in its Kursk border region in a fresh setback for Kiev ahead of talks to end the war. Vatican says Pope Francis, who has been in hospital for more than 3 weeks, is responding well to treatment for pneumonia, showing a gradual slight improvement. US President Donald Trump denies fallout between Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Chief of DOGE Elon Musk, calls reports of fiery exchange fake. Contestants face each other in Greenland in the last debate before Tuesday's vote for elections. Unbeaten India will take on New Zealand in the final of the Champions Trophy today. The men in blue are looking to win their second straight ICC title, while the Black Caps are aiming to secure the first in 25 years. Russia has said its troops have retaken 3 villages seized by Ukraine in its Kursk border region in a fresh setback for Kyiv. And this comes days ahead of talks between the US and Ukrainian negotiators to secure a truce, even as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has called for more sanctions against Russia after overnight strikes, which killed at least 14 people and wounded dozens more. Well, according to the emergency services, Russian forces attacked Dropila with ballistic missiles, multiple rockets and drones, killing 11 people and wounding 40. Earlier in the day, Donetsk governor Vadim Flashkin said a strike on the city of Kursk killed a man in his 40s and wounded 2 others. 4 people were killed in drone attacks in the eastern Kharkiv region. Also, a drone attack killed a 74-year-old man in the southern Kherson region. The overnight air raids came after US President Donald Trump threatened new sanctions and tariffs on Russia, but said it may be easier to work with Moscow than Kiev on efforts to end the 3-year-long war. Well, US envoy Steve Witkoff said that Washington wanted to discuss an initial ceasefire with Russia and a framework for a longer agreement. The 3-year-long war is now at a crucial juncture for Ukraine after Trump suspended US military aid following his public falling out with Zelensky last week. Ukraine's troops in Kursk have seen their position worsen in recent weeks as Russian forces pushed back. Russia's defense ministry on Saturday announced the recapture of 3 more villages. According to Deep State, which is an online military tracker linked to the Ukrainian army, the Russian move followed a breach in the Ukrainian defense lines near the town of Zudza, which is under Kiev's control. The advance appears to have cut off the logistics route needed by Ukraine to supply its troops. Although Kiev has not confirmed this, the Ukrainian military said that clashes were ongoing amid heavy bombings with artillery and guided aerial bombs. Moving on, Syria is witnessing one of the worst episodes of violence since the ouster of President Bashar al-Assad. Syrian government and allied forces stormed several villages near the country's coast, killing dozens of Assad loyalists. A Syrian war monitor said 745 civilians from Alawite minority have been killed over the past 3 days, pushing the overall toll in the violence to 1,000. Now, the fight began when the government forces tried to detain a wanted person near the coastal city of Jabela and were ambushed by Assad loyalists. The coastal region is the heartland of the Alawite minority and a stronghold of the Assad family, who also belong to the Alawite sector. Well, they send reinforcements to the coastal cities of Latakia and Tartus and nearby villages that are home to Assad's minority.
And those who transgress against unarmed civilians and punish people for the crimes of others will be held severely accountable. Our people on the coasts in the areas of conflict are part of our responsibility, and it is our duty to protect them and save them from the evils of the gangs of the fallen regime.
Experts are concerned that the deadly violence could intensify sectarian tensions in the war-torn country. Any violations by the security forces sent from Damascus would leave young Alawite men more fearful of the new government, potentially leading to more men taking up arms. Well, a day after US President Donald Trump threatened military action against Tehran, Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has slammed what he described as bullying tactics. While delivering a speech in Tehran, Khamenei said the aim of Washington's offer for negotiations was domination rather than problem solving. US continues with carrot and stick approach when it comes to dealing with Iran. In a letter to Khamenei that Iran says it has not yet received, Trump expressed openness to a deal with Tehran. But US President also reinstated the maximum pressure campaign to isolate Iran from the global economy and drive its oil exports to zero.
The issue isn't just the nuclear issue that they're talking about now. They'll raise new demands, and these new demands will certainly not be met by Iran regarding the country's defensive capabilities, regarding the country's international influence. Don't do this. Don't meet that person. Don't go to that place. Don't produce that thing. Your missile's range shouldn't exceed such and such a distance. Can anyone accept these things? This is what negotiation is for.
Amid threats from Israel as well as United States, Qatar's Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman warned that any attack on Iran's nuclear sites would contaminate the region's water. He also added that Qatar would run out of water in 3 days. During his first term as the president, Donald Trump withdrew the United States from a landmark deal called Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action that was signed between Iran and major powers that placed strict limits on Tehran's nuclear activities in exchange for sanctions relief. After Trump pulled out in 2018 and reimposed sanctions, Iran breached and far surpassed those limits. Tehran continues to accelerate its enrichment of uranium to near weapons grade. Tehran insists its nuclear work is solely for peaceful purposes. Moving on, US President Donald Trump's priced Turnberry Golf Resort in Scotland has been vandalized by pro-Palestinian demonstrators. Palestine Action claims to have struck overnight at the 800-acre Trump Turnberry Resort in South Ayrshire. The group daubed "Gaza is not for sale" in 10-feet-high white letters on part of the course, spray-painted the clubhouse and dug up the greens at some of the course's most prestigious holes. The group says it acted because of what it claims are plans and threats made by the US administration to destroy and ethnically cleanse and take over the Gaza Strip. The action follows a provocative AI-generated clip shared by the US president that depicted embattled Gaza as a Dubai-style rich man's paradise, with hotels, private yachts, and gold statues of himself. In yet another such incident, a demonstrator climbed London's Elizabeth Tower, commonly known as Big Ben, and waved a Palestinian flag from the iconic landmark. Streets were closed and multiple emergency vehicles arrived at the building. Last week, the United States said it had approved the sale of more than $3 billion in munitions, bulldozers and other related equipment to Israel, which used American-made weapons to devastating effects in Gaza. All right, Canada is gearing up for new leadership after 10 years of Justin Trudeau as the Prime Minister as well as leader of the country's Liberal Party. The announcement of the new Liberal leader is due on Sunday, and my colleague Isha gets you all the details.
Canada's Liberal Party is holding elections to replace Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. After staying in power for more than 10 years, Trudeau will descend from the position of the Liberal leader and will be handing over the baton to another party leader. Now let's take a look at who are the frontrunners in the Liberal leadership race. First up is former Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland, whose dramatic resignation in December partly pushed Trudeau to resign. Up next is ex-Central Bank Governor Mark Carney. Polls suggest that Carney is leading the race to replace Trudeau. Now, as per the latest poll data, the third frontrunner is former Cabinet Minister Karina Gould, who is lagging behind Mark Carney and Freeland. Well, let's now move to the eligibility criteria for voters. Canadian voters who have registered as Liberals before January 27th can vote in this leadership race. According to the Liberal Party, 400,000 people had signed up to vote as of January 30th. The voting process works according to the preferential voting system. Voters will rank candidates in the order of their preference. Each of Canada's 343 parliamentary constituencies or ridings carry 100 points. These points are distributed among candidates based on the percentage of votes secured by them. So if candidate A wins 60% of the votes in a riding and candidate B wins 40%, they would earn 60 and 40 points respectively. Now, the process takes place in each riding before the national count. If no candidate secures more than 50% of the overall points, the candidate with the least points is eliminated. The ballots of the eliminated candidate is then redistributed to other candidates based on their second choice. The process is repeated until a candidate crosses the 50% mark. Once the results are out on Sunday, the process of transfer of power will take place. Once the date of Trudeau's departure from Prime Minister's office is finalized, his successor will visit Governor-General Mary Simon. The governor then will task the new leader to form the next government. Now, under Canada's fixed election law, although the next national vote must be held by October 20th, the new leader can take a call for fresh elections anytime after March 9th.
Well, next up, we deep dive into the biggest moves shaking up global markets. From New York to New Delhi, U.S. trade policy kept investors on edge, fueling another wild ride of gains and losses. We break down all the action and the key takeaways and what could drive markets in the days ahead. Take a look.
US stocks rebounded on Friday, but still ended the week sharply lower as concerns over trade policy and economic growth rattled investors. The Nasdaq rose 0.7% on Friday, but all three indexes posted their worst weekly declines in 7 months. A weaker than expected jobs report raised concerns about a slowing economy, with non-farm payrolls growing by just 151,000 in February. Meanwhile, uncertainty over US tariff policies continued to fuel volatility in other markets, including Europe. The Stoxx 600 index logged its first losing week of the year. Luxury stocks were hit hard, with key players down between up to 7%, as fears of US tariffs weighed on consumer sentiment. In Asia, markets mirrored Wall Street's losses. Japan's Nikkei 225 dropped 2.17% on Friday, closely followed by South Korea's Kospi, Hong Kong's Hang Seng and China's CSI. 300 also slipped as weaker than expected Chinese export data fueled concerns about slowing global trade. Indian stocks ended the week with gains, but the Nifty 50 and the Sensex have been the biggest losers in the region in 2025. Oil prices rose on Friday but pulled back from session highs after the US threatened sanctions on Russia over Ukraine. Brent crude settled $70.50. Gold eased on Friday due to profit-taking but posted a 1.7% weekly gain, as safe haven demand remained strong amid global uncertainty. In the week ahead, investors will keep an eye on Fed rate cut expectations, developments in US trade policy, and geopolitical tensions, particularly around Russia and Ukraine. Business Bureau, WION, World is One.
All right, let's now take a quick look at what is making news in the world of sports. Rivals Rayo Vallecano in La Liga match day 27. This will be the second Madrid derby for Carlo Ancelotti's side this week. They defeat Atletico 2-1 in the Champions League on Wednesday. The reigning champions are looking to return to winning ways in the Spanish league. They have only won one of their last 5 matches, and last week's 2-1 defeat to Betis has dropped them behind Barcelona and Atletico in the title race.